Awakening in our time is no longer understood as an escape from the world or a disappearance into transcendence. It is not the removal of the self from life, nor the attainment of some distant spiritual state. Awakening now is the quiet recognition that the very substance of your experience, breath, sensation, emotion, relationship, and the rhythms of the body, is not separate from the vastness you once sought. The source you searched for has always been present, expressing itself through the life already unfolding within you. In this realization, nothing needs to be rejected or abandoned. Instead, everything becomes part of the doorway to truth. The body, once treated as an obstacle to awakening, reveals itself as the most intimate path into presence. Script 8. And sensation becomes the language of awareness. Emotion becomes movement within consciousness. Life is no longer something to control or manage, but something to meet directly. As this shift deepens, the imagined boundary between the observer and the observed begins to dissolve. The separation between inside and outside softens. What remains is a single continuous field of being, appearing as breath, sensation, relationship, and the unfolding of life itself. Awakening therefore becomes less about striving and more about recognition. It is the movement from seeking to allowing, from effort to transparency. Your humanity is not transcended. It is reclaimed and illuminated. True awakening is embodied. The mind may understand unity, but the body remembers it. And as this remembering stabilizes, awakening reveals itself not as a dramatic event, but as a way of living. A softness in the system, a permeability to life, and a quiet recognition that the sacred has always been present within the ordinary. The return to your natural state is not a movement forward towards something new. It is a falling back into what has always been present beneath the layers of tension, protection, and survival that shaped your sense of self. Awakening does not create this natural state. It simply reveals it. What you begin to recognize is that the ease, openness, and coherence you have occasionally glimpsed were never achievements. They were reflections of your original condition before contraction formed the identity you learned to defend. Your natural state does not arise through effort or discipline. It appears when the body no longer needs to brace against life. As the nervous system releases its vigilance and sensation is allowed rather than controlled, the deeper truth begins to emerge on its own. Emotion can move freely. Breath deepens naturally.
Awareness becomes steady and spacious. In this softening, the body remembers something simple and profound. You are already whole, already connected, already supported by a presence far greater than the small self you once believed you had to protect. This return is quiet and subtle. It does not arrive as a dramatic spiritual event or a moment of final attainment. Instead, it feels like an exhale that the system has been waiting to release. In this natural state, life is no longer approached through defense or effort. Presence becomes effortless. Clarity coexists with vulnerability. Strength arises alongside openness. And what once felt like something you needed to search for is revealed as the ground that has always been holding you. The body, which once appeared to be the source of separation, ultimately reveals itself as the very instrument through which separation dissolves. What once felt like limitation becomes the doorway to boundlessness. The contractions that shaped identity become invitations into spaciousness. And the sensations that were once feared become pathways back to wholeness. The body's final role is not to transcend itself or disappear. Instead, it reveals that it was never separate from awareness in the first place. As the nervous system unwinds its long-held patterns of defense, the body gradually stops insisting on rigid boundaries. It becomes more open, more permeable, and more transparent to the deeper intelligence moving through it. Sensations soften, emotions lose their heavy narratives, and experience is no longer felt as something that belongs to a separate me. In this transparency, the body becomes a living expression of unity. It no longer organizes around vigilance or survival, but around openness and coherence. What once encoded the ego's sense of division now expresses the simplicity of being itself. The dissolving of separation is not an abstract realization. It unfolds as a physiological release, a softening in the breath, the tissues, and the subtle contractions that once held the world at a distance. As these tensions dissolve, what remains is a direct intimacy with life itself. In the end, the body does not awaken to oneness. It awakens as oneness. The boundary between awareness and form fades, and the human body becomes a quiet bridge through which the fullness of existence expresses itself without obstruction. Living as the field rather than the fragment means moving through life no longer from the perspective of a separate self, but from the deeper wholeness that has always been present. The identity that once felt central to experience begins to soften,
and what remains is a sense of being that is naturally spacious, inclusive, and intimately connected with everything around you. This shift is not something that must be achieved or perfected. It arises naturally as the body relaxes out of the lifelong contractions that once held identity together. When the body releases its habitual bracing, awareness no longer organizes itself around the idea of me standing apart from life. Instead, experience unfolds within a wider field of presence. Thoughts, sensations, emotions, and events still arise, but they are no longer interpreted as defining a separate identity. They move through awareness the way weather moves through the sky, appearing, shifting, and dissolving without disturbing the openness that holds them. Living as the field does not remove you from the human experience. In many ways, it deepens it. Relationships become more authentic because there is less need to defend an identity. Choices become clearer because they arise from a deeper ground of coherence rather than from fear or control. Life becomes less about protecting the fragment and more about allowing the intelligence of the whole to express itself through your actions. From this perspective, existence is experienced as a continuous unfolding, rather than a series of struggles to maintain a self. The human form remains, but it is no longer the center of reality. It becomes a living expression of the same field of awareness that moves through all things. The journey you have walked through these pages was never meant to lead you away from yourself. Its purpose was always to bring you back into the quiet intelligence of the body, back into the presence that has been waiting beneath every moment of effort and searching. What you have encountered along this path is not a new truth, but the remembering of a truth that has always lived within you. The body has been your guide throughout this journey. Through sensation, breath, contraction, and release, it has slowly revealed the deeper rhythm of life moving through you. Each moment of awareness has softened a layer of separation. Each moment of allowing has opened the system to a wider sense of belonging. What once felt like struggle becomes a doorway, and what once felt like limitation becomes the ground of awakening itself. As you continue forward in your life, nothing special needs to be maintained or protected. The remembering of oneness does not depend on perfect awareness or constant stillness. It lives quietly within the way you breathe, the way you feel, and the way you meet each moment as it arrives. If the mind forgets, return gently to the body. Let the breath guide you back into presence. Let sensation remind you that life is already unfolding within you. May you trust the simplicity of what has been revealed.
That you are already whole, already supported, and already inseparable from the life that moves through every living thing. The quiet return home is not a dramatic ending to a spiritual journey. It is a gentle settling into what has always been present beneath the movement of searching. After the striving, the questioning, and the long effort to understand life, something in the body finally relaxes. The nervous system releases the need to reach for something beyond this moment, and awareness begins to rest in the simplicity of being here. Home was never a distant place waiting to be discovered. It has always lived within the immediacy of your breath, the subtle movement of sensation, and the quiet presence that remains when the mind stops trying to control experience. When the body softens, and the grip of identity loosens, the sense of separation that once defined your life begins to dissolve. What remains is not a new identity, but a quiet intimacy with existence itself. In this intimacy, life no longer feels like something happening to you. It is something moving as you. The boundaries between observer and world become less rigid, and experience begins to feel continuous and whole. Each breath, each sensation, each encounter with the world carries the same underlying presence. The return home is therefore not the end of the path, but the beginning of a different way of living. It is the recognition that the truth you were seeking has always been quietly holding you. And from this place, life unfolds naturally, simple, immediate, and inseparable from the awareness that is living it.
Hi, I'm Jim Daunt, and thank you for watching my videos. Just want to let you know the videos from the last about 2 months have all been based on my new book. It's coming out March 31st. It's both on Kindle and on paperback on Amazon, and it's now available for pre-order on Kindle if you're interested.